如果你曾經喺健身房感覺個痛，而有心諗我身體係咪已經壞咗有問題，又或者你曾經被醫生話過俾你聽，你嘅不良姿勢就係你會痛嘅原因，咁你接下來咧一定要聽下呢一個嘉賓嘅分享啦。
Because sometimes pain does mean that there's damage, but for the most part there isn't. You know,
there are clients that come back and with like they did MRIs and stuff, there's no structural damage, but they still feel pain.
Oh, your MRI was fine. Your pain is because it's in your head. It's your brain. That's not true. Right? That's totally wrong. Or the doctors say there's nothing wrong with me. My pain's made up. Like, no, that's not it at all. And if they wait to be pain-free, they're just never going to be active.
咁今日嘅嘉賓咧就係廣泛認為係現代復健領域中嘅橋梁嘅人物。咁佢擁有人體嘅動作學啦、脊椎嘅生物力學、脊醫學同埋物理治療嘅學位。佢哋都係少數獲選跟隨世界頂尖嘅脊椎專家 Stuart McGill 博士進行研究嘅兩位學生之一。咁喺過去嘅20年嚟咧，佢係持續拆解我哋呢個行業入邊最根深蒂固一啲迷思嘅。咁佢亦都係發表咗好多篇研究嘅學者啦、得獎嘅教授啦，亦都係 Reconciling Biomechanics with Pain Science 呢個課程嘅創辦人。咁呢個課程咧改變咗全數以千計臨床工作者處理疼痛嘅方式。點解你嘅身體咧比你想象中更加強，同埋你一直被人灌輸嘅大部分疼痛嘅觀念，可能都係錯嘅。Greg， 咁我哋由我哋運動員最常有嘅恐懼開始講起啦。咁就係如果汽車引擎發出啲怪聲，我哋就應該要即刻停低啦，因為一定有嘢係壞咗嘅。但係你都講過人體咧就唔係好似我哋汽車咁。咁你可唔可以解釋一下點解疼痛唔等於組織受損？即係如果深蹲嘅時候膝頭嗰個痛，咁係代表啲乜嘢咧？係咪代表我哋組織係受損緊啦？係咪代表我哋半月板喺度撕裂緊？
Yeah, I mean, it is a good question because sometimes pain does mean that there's damage, but for the most part there isn't. You know, so the best example of when we have lots of pain and there's no real damage, but it's like a chemical sensitivity, meaning something's irritating the nerves, would be after people have a hard workout and 2 days later, usually they have delayed onset muscle soreness, right? That isn't because of tissue damage. If it was tissue damage, then you would be most sore immediately after the injury. But it happens 48 to 72 hours later because we have this immune nervous system response, you know, that helps build you up, and that irritates the nerves. The same thing when you hear about when people have like sciatica or leg pain coming from the back, that there is some tissue damage there. You can have like a really bad disc herniation. It goes out, it presses on the nerve root, and that can really hurt down the leg. But often there's not a lot of low back pain. So where the damage technically is the disc, but the leg hurts so much because there's like a chemical response at the nerve root and at the disc, and it's the chemical irritation that aggravates the nerve. And then what can happen over time is either that disc gets resorbed, or there's no more of that chemical irritation. Technically the damage is still there, and I put damage in quotes, it's not real damage, and then people don't have pain. So often with our athletes, they can have pain and we're allowed to like push into the pain a little bit because it's not making the structure or the tendon or the muscle worse. So it's good.
Got it. 咁我有讀過你嘅 course 啦，你成日會用水杯去比喻點解疼痛會隨機發作嘅。例如點解有人執起一支鉛筆嘅時候咧會拉親條腰，但係硬拉100公斤嘅時候咧又冇事。咁你可唔可以帶我哋了解一下水杯呢個概念？咁係乜嘢會裝滿呢個水杯？我哋又點樣去防止佢滿到瀉晒出嚟，令到疼痛發作咧？
Yeah, especially in athletes, people think like athletic injuries are more straightforward. Sometimes they are. Like if you break a bone, that's probably going to hurt. But athletes, like, so the cup analogy is like, we are the cup. And then in that cup goes all of the stress in our life, our loading, our exercise, our sport, even like being worried about your playing time, not sleeping well, school stress, you know, specific traits, if you have like anxiety or depression or any mental health things, those all go into the cup. And they interact, and sometimes our cup overflows and we have pain. right? So that's the simple idea that pain is more, than just the tissue or tendinopathy or something like that. So for athletes, these are the times where like you're training really hard and you have some, event coming up. If you're a runner and the race is coming up, you've been training all year. Sometimes you'll have weeks where it sucks. Like you might be stressed with school or with work, or you're not sleeping well. And those are the times where you can't really change those. So you might have to back off of your physical stress, So those are the weeks where you still work out and train, but you just don't go as hard as you normally would, or you change it up and take a rest day, so that's just so we say like the cup doesn't overflow would be the idea here. Yeah, it's managing all the stressors in your life.
咁聽你咁講，可能係有時候我哋身體可能過分敏感去導致到有啲疼痛。咁我好中意你解釋敏感度嘅方式嘅。咁有時就好似我哋嘅身體嘅頸部系統好似有啲太盡責，就好似一塊樹葉跌咗落個車度，嗰個車嘅防盜器就已經開始大響咁樣。咁我哋一位運動員應該點樣去分別佢哋嘅頸部氣淨係太敏感，定係真係受咗啲需要休息嘅嚴重嘅傷勢呢？
So it is actually really hard. It's almost working with someone like a coach or a therapist. Like there's certain areas of the body where we're like, we can't be sure. It might be worth backing off or going to get it checked out. So again, like I think the biggest example, and it's almost the sport will tell you as well. The biggest example is when there's certain tissues where we need to rest them, right? Rather than load them and make them stronger. And an example of that would be bone stress injuries. So any, like if you're working with a 17-year-old girl or a boy and they have a sport where they arch their back a lot, like gymnastics, cricket, I don't know if that's a big thing where you are, but like, we would get worried about a stress fracture in their spine, like a bone stress injury. And just where the location of the pain is, we'd be like, oh shoot, we should maybe back off a little bit here. Or you work with a runner and he or she is like kind of underweight and they have groin pain. Sometimes we get a little worried that that's a femoral neck stress fractures, and there'd be other sides. So it's almost like the location of the pain, the sport the person is in, we're a little bit more cautious, right? Because there are times where you got to like respect pain and listen to it. It sucks.
Let's say if I'm a coach, it's better for me to refer out to a physio for them to get checked out.
Yeah, that's a good example. Yeah. Or and you'd be less worried if it's something that they'd had for months or years. Some people will have a tendon-related pain, and we know that can take a while and that can fluctuate. And it's the tendon itself hurts, and you're like, that's okay, because it's not gonna like, you don't have to shut it down because you're worried because it'll tear in half. But when you have like bone pain in certain areas, you get a little bit more worried because it can break in half. Like that's I'm being very catastrophic here, but that's sort of the idea.
Got it.
Yeah. Or a muscle, we can push into pain when muscles hurt, right? That's yeah.
所以聽完你講，如果疼痛唔代表我哋身體有問題壞咗啊，咁我哋應該就要繼續訓練啦，因為我哋唔可以完全忽視佢。我哋幾多程度嘅痛感係應該可以接受到呢？
Yeah, so again, go back a step and say, do I understand why they hurt? Have a good idea. Is this something where they do have to rest? And that's where it's more serious conditions and stuff like that. And once you've cleared that they're safe and you understand it, like tendon-related pain is a perfect example, or muscle strains and things like that, we would say, okay, you're allowed some pain. Well, the pain where you feel comfortable. And if you had to give a number, it's sort of like 3 to 5 out of 10, where it's like, this is bothering me. I don't like it, but I'm okay with it. It's not excruciating or anything like that. Or if it does start pretty bad, it slowly warms up and you feel better, right? That's another okay sign. And then this is where you have to play it, like you have to monitor it over time. It's that if the next day or the day after they're back to normal and there's no big flare up, or there's no change in performance or function, we're like, okay, that was a good amount of pain for you. Let's keep going. Let's keep training.
So let's for an example, I have athletes that currently have tendon pain. I can control how they train in the gym, like the amount of like volume they train in the gym, but I don't really know how much they train like during basketball training. And then once they go to once they train for like they did a shooting drill for like 1 hour, 2 hours, and then the pain just kind of flares up, and then we have to start all over again. So how is it a better way for like coaches to like kind of prescribe or how much the like training volume they could do like for their own workouts, like that we're not monitoring? Yeah, sorry.
No, you're right. That this is where load monitoring is important, and like elite sports, it's easier when we work with runners because you're like, hey, for 2 weeks, no fast running, just run slow. Working with a basketball player, this is where you're like, listen, you can't be doing dunking or layups where you're jumping. Instead of working your jump shot, you have to work I don't know, your set shot or free throw or something else. This is where like for a little bit, can you work on your technique? Don't work on a high force production, and then say this isn't forever. This is just 2 weeks to see if it settles down while you're doing something else. Right? I always think when you work with athletes, you never want to take them down to zero. You have to, if you take something away, you have to add something else.
Yeah.
Right. Like if I'm
working,
with a tennis player, this is what, and we were worried about a stress fracture in her spine. It wasn't, but she still needed to slowly ease back into things for her back. We're like, this is the next 3 weeks is your technique development, right? You're really going to focus on your technique. You're not going to be swinging 100%. You're going to be swinging at 50 to 60%. So we gave her, it was nice for her because it gave her a break from training really hard, but she's still training hard because she's working on her technique.
咁其實咧，我有好多學生自己都仲係有呢個觀念，就係如果會痛咧就唔好做。咁但係你個觀點咧就完全係相反嘅，你認為逃避動作咧反而會令到你身體更加脆弱。咁點解對慢性疼痛嚟講，完全休息可能係一個錯嘅答案咧？
So for chronic pain, it's easier. For chronic pain, this is like people like me. There are a subset of people, maybe 20 to 35%, who will always feel some pain when they do activities. And the pain will move and be different all the time. And if they wait to be pain-free, they're just never going to be active, right? And then there's the argument, they end up just doing less and less and less. And then they hurt more and more, no matter what they do. So there's like, well, who cares? If you're going to hurt just sitting on the couch, right? Like now my back hurts, like I'm just sitting here. I know actually if I go work out or run, it might hurt, but it's going to hurt the same amount, right? No matter what I'm doing.
Yeah.
In the athlete world, it gets tougher because there are probably this is where it's really difficult. There are times where it's just been hurting and it doesn't normally hurt and it's weeks and weeks and weeks. And they might benefit from a deload week. I'm not saying like nothing, but they could back off a little bit, right? So it's always, everyone's an experiment, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying like be super macho and always hammer into pain. Right? Yeah. It's just saying be flexible. Doesn't like try it for a few weeks, see how it goes, see if it runs its course. Because pain's weird sometimes. It's just, sometimes people just have pain for a little bit. It makes no sense. And then you just keep persisting in your activities and then it goes away, right? Or we have to back off after a few months or so of that.
Got it. So like I have clients that have like chronic pain, but they don't, there's no like structural damage. So basically I always refer out if I don't understand where their pain is coming from. And there are clients that come back then with like they did MRIs and stuff, there's no structural damage, but they still feel pain. So is there any particular reason why that comes up?
So MRIs do just show structure, but they wouldn't show if like, that doesn't mean there's nothing happening in the joint or in the tendon, right? You can still have something that irritates the nerves there, right? And so like it's just not damaged, right? So it can still mean that like we need to do something for their back or their shoulder, which is often exercise and things like that. But what it does mean, it usually means that activity is safe for that person, right? That's why the MRI is helpful for some people. Hey, there's no stress fracture here. You can keep loading this. You can keep exercising. Yeah, so I'm always happy if someone has an MRI, you know. But unfortunately, people go a bit too far and be like, "Oh, your MRI was fine. Your pain is because it's in your head. It's your brain." That's not true, right? That's totally wrong. Or the doctors say there's nothing wrong with me. My pain's made up. Like, no, that's not it at all. MRIs just show structure. They don't show nerve irritation or anything like that.
So what kind of advice would you give like for a coach like me? Or what should we do with a client? First thing is kind of how we can kind of calm them down before our workouts, because kind of anything that flares up, they just kind of get scared.
Yeah. So this is actually really tough. You do want to ask them what they think is going on. That's always the big one, to really understand what their worries are, right? And then ask if they're and it would be okay. Like say it's squats that hurt them, or you can find some movements that they're afraid to do and that are a bit sensitive. It's all right to do a week or so because you're creative and smart. So you'll be like, well, we can still train these movements and muscles with other exercises, right? So maybe for a little bit, instead of squats, you're doing a split squat or a lunge. You just work around it. And for the vast majority of people, things will settle down on their own. Right? And you just worked around and you kept them healthy and fit. And that's the best thing that you can do. Yeah, but really give the idea, if you want to, we don't have to do these painful exercises today. If you did want to, we can nudge into a little bit of discomfort and see how it goes over the next few weeks. So you got lots of options there.
咁最後一個問題啦，最簡單啦，就係如果你可以淨係俾一個建議去俾啲目前對自己身上面有疼痛感到恐懼嘅啲運動員，甚至係佢哋教練睇嘅話，咁嗰個建議係乜嘢呢？
Well, so to be honest, although I'm an optimist, I'm still a realist. Right? So it is, if you are really worried and you aren't sure about it, it's okay to get checked out. Right? And it's okay to make sure that there's not something that's really bad. You know, usually with athletes, it's a stress fracture. Right? That's the biggest one. But as soon as you have that clearance that it's not like lots of structural problems and it's safe to load, then it's okay. Then you go for it. So make sure you feel safe. Right, that's the idea. That's to start with that. Like I had some neuropathy in both hands for a while, and I went and got the scans for it, the EMG and all that stuff. And as soon as I was, I get a little worried about things. I was worried it was like a really sinister neurological condition. You know, that's what. And I had to get that ruled out. And as soon as I got that ruled out. I was like, okay, I'm great. I don't care that my hands are tingling because it's just the nerve in my forearm. I'm like, whatever. Now I can go do stuff. So like, it's okay for some of us it's okay to have some reassurance, right? So make sure you're reassured. And then I'm like, okay, now we can start pushing into pain if you want to, or you work around it and you have like a creative coach like yourself, or we're like, no, we'll try these exercises, or we'll change it up and do this for a while. Yeah. So make sure you feel safe.
It's nice talking to you, and thank you so much for your time.
Okay, good luck with this.
Yeah, thank you. And then once I'll tag you on Instagram, and then
sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
you so much.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye bye.
咁
我哋結束之前，如果有聽眾咧想了解多啲關於 Greg Lehman 嘅啲研究，又或者有教練咧想去報名佢嘅 Reconciling Biomechanics with Pain Science 嘅課程咧，咁我會喺下面擺低佢嘅連結同埋佢嘅 IG， 咁你哋就可以喺嗰度揾到佢啦。咁最後就想你記住，今日最大嘅重點就係你身體咧係非常之強同埋極具韌性嘅。咁你嘅疼痛咧只係一個警報器，並唔代表你身體係壞咗或者有啲咩大嘅損傷。咁如果今日咧可以幫到你改變咗對疼痛嘅睇法，或者你身邊有朋友因為疼痛而唔敢運動嘅話，咁記得要分享呢一集俾佢哋睇啦。同埋唔記得訂閱我哋嘅 channel， 同埋留言區講翻俾我聽，未來你會想睇到更加多唔同嘅咩 topic 咩主題。咁 let's move without limits， 唔好俾你身體嘅問題去影響你想做嘅嘢。咁我哋下次見。